Family, thank you for joining me here at the American News Network today. We have America sending in our nuclear triad of bombers, not just the Stealth, not just the B-52, but our Lancer. I'll be getting into that in just a bit as we simultaneously gear up on Venezuela. And last night, Israel bombs with our equipment because they don't have any of their own. They killed the Prime Minister of Yemen and, of course, the other leaders, but the actual prime minister, and this sets off Saudi Arabia. We also have Turkey now forming a blockade so that Israel will stop receiving any sort of trade from Europe. What side of the war are we on? Why are we on it? Well, we had a renegade judge went against Trump and struck all of his tariffs down, and this was the one thing protecting you and I and our dollar. And if these tariffs don't stick, we're stuck with property taxes. We're stuck with property taxes in Florida and in Texas. Now, we've been listening to Greg Abbott and to Ron DeSantis promise us to not have taxes. Well, the only way we can do that is if President Trump's tariffs stick. And if they do, then they can make the money off the backs of other people instead of us Americans. But I know I don't stand alone where we're looking at serious taxes in Texas and even Florida and other areas. Are they just going to lie to us, or are they going to keep it real? And why are we going to war? Well, it's about this reason, because if our tariffs don't stick, the only way these people know how to make money, in case you haven't figured it out, is through war. So you're going to let Israel, Chase Bank, and the industrial war complex continue its game. Now, I told you a lot of people don't know this, but Chase Bank is holding on to $10 trillion of drill, baby, drill. And there's a man out there named John. He's trying to fund Trump's infrastructure, and he's also trying to help the debt in America, but he's being withheld and held back because I heard Jamie Dimon, someone like that, is holding his money, compounding interest at Chase so that they can fund the broke Israeli war. So, in other words, they're broke and they're stealing from me, even me, just to continue this malarkey of nonsense. And so then, first they killed the Iranian president with the pager. We know this. We know this now. They blow up kids in Lebanon, and by doing that, they pull Turkey away. And did you know that Egypt has even struck Israel? So we have Egypt, we have Turkey, we have Saudi. 57 countries of the Muslim empire shall unify, because murder is what murder does. And hate breeds hate. And the best hater I'm noticing, well, he's the ICC war criminal named Benjamin Netanyahu. And as far as all you politicians that go and kiss the butt of Israel, we're watching you. And I've got a little stats for you, but 20% of this nation is either from Africa, Iran, Russia, Saudi Arabia. And when I add up all the figures, it doesn't look good for our safety here on the inside. In other words, as soon as we start this war, 20% of our own country is going to attack us and destroy us from the inside out, while Trump allows 600,000, in my opinion, illegal aliens, Chinese students into our country, when every single one of them is a spy. We've had agro-terrorism. You multiply 600,000 times 4, that's 2.4 million Americans that were matriculating into America. And how do numbers add up? Well, if you put 73, because 73 Jews went into Egypt, how long did it take them to become 2 million people, those 73 people? It took them approximately 325 to 350 years. So why are we moving in 600,000 illegal aliens? Why? I'll tell you, we're about to start a war with Venezuela. 650,000 Venezuelans are here legally. 650,000 Venezuelans are here illegally. I'm going to add up these numbers because this is the war you're going to look at. Let's go ahead and let's say we bomb Iran. Are you considering the 600,000 Iranian Americans that live in the United States? Because this is just about a state. So if you think that we're really powerful, well, think again. There are poisons, there's agro-terrorism, there's so many ways in which we can be dissected. And this is all a part of basically the Quran. Because Muhammad, he was kicked out of Medina. He had to come back in. He had to come in through numbers. And that's textbook what is happening now. I'm going to give you some figures. There's also other countries like India, because Hinduism is not too far from Islam. And I'm going to suggest here in America to notice that there's a constant war between Judaism and Islam, and we need to get it out of our country, or we're going to look like Europe today. And it's destroying the fabric of our country and what we were. You see, when 25% of the people here shouldn't be here and they're illegal, we don't know how to act to each other because we don't know if we're talking to a Chinese Chinaman or an American Chinaman, an African from Africa or one that was born here in America. And by doing that, our congressmen, politicians, and even president are pretty much ripping up the Constitution. There's a word in the opening preamble called posterity. We don't examine that word. Posterity means, what are you promising to my kids that's more advantageous than the other kids? So if I'm a Mexican American and I got here legally, and you let these illegal Mexicans in, you're violating the posterity of my children, because you're supposed to give my children an advantage according to the Constitution. Same thing with education. Do you think that I want to educate a Chinese student from China when there are literally millions of Chinese Americans here in the United States? Give me a break. Stop this nonsense. This is all pay to play. And Trump, I don't like you succumbing to it. Now, as soon as Benjamin Netanyahu shook Trump's hand, I knew that there was poison on his hand, and sure enough, we almost thought he died. You look at Trump's hand, there's stuff going on. The culprit here is straight out Israel, period. Benjamin Netanyahu is the problem, the bane of America and Israel. He's got $5.3 billion in war crimes that the current Israeli government is examining. And as soon as he's out of office, he's in jail. Well, I say put him in jail today with Zelensky, because these two Polish Jews that are pretending like they're somehow real Jews are not. This is Revelation 2939 at its finest, when a group of Jews will pretend like they are Jews and they are not, and they will be the synagogue of Satan. And what makes them the synagogue of Satan is that if you're a pedophile or a child molester, you can seek safe haven in the synagogue of Jerusalem. Definition, synagogue of Satan. Now, are you going to have the unification of 57 countries? Because we have 5 million Muslims living in the United States today. I'm going to give you some other figures here. Put this in your pipe and smoke it, America. India. You know, back in my day, let's say in the 90s, 781,000 people from India in America. And that was about a good, decent-sized population, because we don't have a history with India. Great Britain does. We haven't had a war, but they're matriculating over here by the millions. And the states of California, Texas, New Jersey, New York, Florida, you might want to notice, have you been taken over? Well, listen to this. In 1990, we had 781,000 people from India. Then in 2000, we had 1.7 to 1.9 million people from India. 2010, we had 3.2 million people from India. 2025, 5.2 to 6 million, with over 25 to 50% of the population being illegal. So we might have 3 million illegal alien Indians with 6 million legal aliens. Or are they just giving each other their ID, and is there 12 million illegal aliens? We don't know, but I suggest that ICE goes to Costco and all the Dallas, Texas locations, because they just got off the boat. Their clothes are from India. They smell like India, and we've been taken over by India. This is just one of the races, Chinese students. 600,000 right now, times 4, 2.4 million. Muslims in the country today, 5 million. Okay? All of the Africans from, not African Americans, but ones from Africa, and keep in mind this is different faiths, different cultures, different religions, ideals. Okay, and you're dealing with over 500,000 people. Now again, with our war with Venezuela, 650,000 legal Venezuelans, 650,000 illegal Venezuelans. And when I add up all these different countries, I'm thinking, wow, 1 out of 5 of us is against us within our country. But it's not just that demographic. When we're dealing with people that have all been purchased by AIPAC, and as a country, we need to examine all the footage. Speaker Johnson called Netanyahu His Excellency. Well, titles of nobility are forbidden in the Constitution in 2 parts, and if you believe that, get out of the room. You're just a jackwagon. Nobody cares about how you read the opinion. You're some sort of smart guy that wants to give an illegal alien a driver's license. I get it. We'll say that to the family of 3 that piled underneath of it because he was driving like he was from India, illegally, because they are. And just recently at the DMVs in Oklahoma and California, we caught him using glasses, smart glasses, and ear devices so that they could cheat and help each other out so that they could flood our roads when they don't even know how to speak English or drive. And the victims are you and me and our families. They don't know what insurance is or anything like that. And I'm telling you, this is a real slippery slope here that we're fighting. And we've got to come together about everything. Now, as far as the real news flashing into the war, they've got to start a war because a judge struck down the tariffs. So the only way in which Trump can make some money is to start a war. And this is big, serious stuff here. And I cannot stress how scary these times are for us right now. Okay? Now I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty. And gotta hate it when I have that. So let me see what we can do here. And let's see if I can get some assistance. But this is kind of like what we're looking at here. And we've got a big nuclear triad that is going on into Russia. And I've got some maps that I'd like to show you. So here we go, finally. All right, so this is the game plan. This is the war. Heads up, United States Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. We're sending in basically our nuclear triad. Our stealth is moving in. B-52s are moving in, and the B-1 bomber Lancer. This is our supersonic to compete with the White Swan of Russia. Are we going to war? Is this posturing? Well, we do not know. But one thing is serious. Planes are in the sky. Nukes are in them. Things are looking serious. And is this just because of the sanctions? I think it would be easier to get rid of the Democrat judges than to blow up Venezuela and Russia. What do you think, America? The United States has deployed powerful B-1B Lancer bombers to Norway, sending a clear signal of strength near Russia's borders. And known for their supersonic speed and massive payload and artillery, the advanced technology, these bombers remain one of the most formidable aircraft on the planet. Now, their presence highlights NATO's growing readiness because we're the only thing they have. Their forces, their troops, they've all pretty much been depleted. They got about 500,000 guys, and they look like the woke military they are. So go ahead and use our boys because let's protect the weak men of Europe together as they wokeify themselves into non-existence. Or should we understand that perhaps masculinity should be embraced, men should be embraced for what they are? And in America, we had what's called manners, or you'd bring out the best in all of us men as we defend our families. But I want you to know this is real. And this Lancer right here, this is competing with the Swan. Our stealth can't break, even mock. It's quiet, and we've used it recently, and they've studied it. Now with the White Swan of Russia, well, we have our B-1 bombers, and I want to thank all of our men up there in the Dakotas for training and keeping our country safe. And I want you to know that every single American is praying for you up in the skies right now. I want you to know, Navy, we're praying for you in the Gulf of America. And we don't know why all of a sudden our war was with Venezuela, but the next day Colombia sounded a resolute unification, and to me, now we have the cartel. Dish it out, let God sort them out, and have fun doing it, but I'm sick of the fentanyl coming into this country. Don't care if it's from Venezuela, don't care if it's from Colombia, because I know that their main supplier is Xi Jinping, the communist dictator of China. And I don't want 600,000 Chinese students in my schools. I don't want one here, period. If you want to educate anybody Chinese, why don't you start with the Filipino, the Taiwanese, the Chinese, the Korean, and the Japanese Americans that we have here. What's wrong with us? Well, I'll tell you something. It's fraud upon fraud. And since the Epstein debacle, I've lost faith in many things. Because I see Netanyahu shake my president's hand, and then I see my president's hand swell up like he was poisoned by an Israeli spy. Do the time, do the math. See who shook his hand. Know what is actually happening. Our enemies are within the inside, but for some reason I pray that our president will have the angel of discernment to see that people like Benjamin Netanyahu are not his friends. We voted on you, sir, to put America first, to make America great again. You represent a movement of Americans, and that is not to put China first. That is not to put Israel first. That is not to put the Ukraine first. That is not to see any congressman waving a flag of the Ukraine or Israel, because as far as MAGA is concerned, every single one of you should be fired. We want to see every bum off our streets. That's what our taxes are for. We want to see the bums off our streets educated so that we don't have bums on our streets. I would rather educate our friends and our family, our Americans, than our enemies. They are violating the posterity of the United States of America. We're moving into Venezuela today. We're moving into NATO and the EU today. Most of Europe believes that Ursula of the EU should be jailed, and she should. No one voted for her. No one voted for Zelensky. He is a termed-out president, and I want you to know that everybody I've watched on the American media sources is lying. They're saying Russia's losing. They are not losing. They're winning. They're beating us in every factor. Every single missile we have has been destroyed. Our alliance is weak. It's fallen apart. It's woke. There's nobody that can fight in Germany or Poland or France. France has been taken over by basically Muslim Africa. If you look at England, you've been taken over by India in Islam, and now it's happening to Ireland. Is this what we want in our country? Because if it is, then we're clearly following the path that you want to be on. You can kiss America goodbye. You can never hold the door open for a woman ever again, and don't walk an old lady across the street, because all those values of Boy Scouts in the American way are going to be nothing but history unless you take a stand. And you got to be built on a rock. So I'm not talking with people with no faith, because your word means nothing. But be built on that rock. Be supportive of those that have given all for us. Understand that we were built on this foundation of Christ. Understand that Russia follows Christ. And as we leave the church and they stay in the church, their country continues to grow and prosper, while we have legalized fentanyl, let China in, embraced communism, which is what the modern Democrats are. And every storefront on every city empties, dwindles. And I'm wondering, Governor Abbott, Ron DeSantis, if you don't abolish taxes within the next week, are you going to just see who listened to you and come in and steal our homes? So has Governor Abbott and Ron DeSantis learned from Gavin Newsom? Because Gavin Newsom did the same thing and stole homes. Question is, are they going to steal homes in Texas now? Because, you know, the Boston Tea Party was something, no taxation without representation. And if you can't build that wall, if you can't protect my kids in school, you don't deserve a damn dollar from me. And that's a fact, Jack. So I don't know who you're paying, but I'm not paying so that you make rats homosexual in Ethiopia. And that's the logic of these communists. And they're destroying our country. And I want you to see it and hear it. Your oath is to this Constitution of the United States of America. If you're like me, then you live and believe in the Bible, and you defend the Constitution of the United States with your life. Because we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America. And if you didn't build a wall, California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, you violated the supremacy clause here because you didn't provide peace and tranquility or promote the general welfare. So you don't deserve a damn tax dollar. And we need to fire the judge going against Trump, because his only other option is to invade Venezuela, Colombia, to back up NATO and the EU. And you know he doesn't want to do this because his platform was a platform of peace. He couldn't end the war in 24 hours as it continues. And his judges are fighting him so that our tariffs are sinking, leaving the only pathway, war, caused by Israel controlling our banks, controlling our judges and the Democrats, dividing our country daily. So let's pray that we recognize this and pray that we have the angel of discernment so that we can bind together and keep our country safe for our kids. On this Labor Day, I want you to think about all the days you've worked. I want you to think about how wonderful we are, and all faiths. You know, it's amazing. I see Muslims come here, Hindus come here, but then after a year or two, especially if they didn't marry somebody in their own faith, they become an American. They learn that love exists and that they can see that that commonality comes from the rock that we stand on, and that's Jesus Christ. My prayers go out to every single one of you. Please like, share, and subscribe. Be careful out on the streets today. I pray that we don't go to war with Russia. I pray that we are posturing. And I pray that our tariffs go through so that we don't have property tax in Texas, in California, and Florida. Because we should make them pay, not us. And if they make us pay, then they're going to steal our homes. And then it seems like the government really hasn't changed at all. Again, $10 trillion held up in Chase Bank. Drill baby drills being held up. We're working with the governments of Taiwan, Japan, Korea, so that we can supply our allies with fuel, only to have the Jews in the banking system hold us back. Our only option might be for brilliant people like Joby Weeks, those guys of Coinbase. Or then there's those extra special geniuses like Trump's crypto king messiah, Brock Pierce. And maybe oilmen like me need to work with guys like him so that we can tether our money around and avoid the banking catastrophes that are being controlled by Israel. And if you don't think that they're destroying America, take a look out. Go to New York, go to Chicago, go to LA. Look at all the buildings and businesses that are closed down. Compliments of a vampire that went in and gave a little flag to our politicians, introduced them to AIPAC, and stole all of our money. It's a sad tragedy. USAID, AIPAC, and in the Constitution, bribery is forbidden. But then these same criminals call it lobbying, and somehow that makes it legal. No. Lobbying needs to be made illegal because it influences war, and the result is death and destruction. God bless you all, and try to remember about this war that we're looking at behind me. Understand we sent the B-1 bomb Lancer filled full of nuclear weapons. Stealth is out there. Our nuclear Triad of bombers is out there. This is serious stuff. We also have nuclear missiles off the coast of Venezuela. Venezuela teamed up with Colombia. This refreshes me because that's the home of the cartels, and I think we know it. As far as that drug, that would be cocaine. But the real problem in America is not cocaine, it's fentanyl. So I don't know why we're going for, again, the wrong criminal. It's almost like after 9/11, how we went after Iraq when supposedly everybody was from either Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Israel. And I say that because Silverstein orchestrated it, and everybody below him was from either Saudi Arabia or Egypt. And today, we're getting killed by fentanyl, but for some reason we're going after cocaine. It doesn't logically make sense. What it does do is it promotes the war on drugs. The war on drugs is a war on us. For being a free country, we're 4.8% of the world's population, but 25% of the world's criminals live in America because of the war on drugs. And we take recreational drugs that don't hurt anybody, and that recreational word, what does recreation mean? But life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But you see, recreation is now illegal. So life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is illegal because they want to protect us from the plants that God created. And if you're saying what God did was wrong, that's the definition of blasphemy, and it's punishable by death in a majority of the world. Now, you can say, oh, well, that's too strict. Maybe it is. But then when I look around and see what's happened to us today, well, I see people that aren't respecting the Bible, and I see people that aren't respecting our Constitution, and when you have those two things combined, you don't have a country anymore. And that's just a fact. Notice what's going on. Notice that as soon as Netanyahu visited Trump, the pathway to peace was thrown out the door. Making America great again didn't happen. I would say poisoning happened just right then and there. And now we're making Israel powerful, but they don't have the fuel, they don't have the population, nor are they letting new members in. So something's going to happen, and if you know what the word attrition is, well, that's what's going to be happening with our population. Again, we need to pray, get sustainable, and understand that our enemies are not just the people representing us, but every single news media agency that's out there, and every banker that's out there, especially if they have a little blue and white flag that they're passing out to our politicians. Good day. So again, if you want to read my new book, sorry, I might as well promote it right here real quick. Chris Sanders, The Emperor Wears No Clothes. It's a 515-page book available on Amazon, and it talks about a lot of these things, and I'll teach you how to turn your air conditioner into a water source, become completely sustainable, and also provide a list of all the anti-parasite plants, all the anti-mosquito plants, and things you can plant just so that you can be sustainable. Hope that helps. Hope you enjoy it. And again, I do read your comments. For some reason, I'm not allowed to respond to them right now. And again, I think that's coming from our friends over there with those little blue and white flags.